Hello and welcome to Right Sports Talk. My name is Zach. We've made it through yet another week of the NFL season, and picking games each week has not really gotten any easier for me. Week 5, I went 7-7 with my picks, giving me an overall record of 41-37. Uh, Here's hoping that Week 6 can be better. Let's get into those Week 6 games. Week 6 kicks off Thursday night. The San Francisco 49ers, who are 2-3, taking on the Seattle Seahawks, who are 3-2. The 49ers coming off a pretty crushing loss to the Arizona Cardinals, which they were up 23-10 at halftime, and then did not score another point for the rest of the game, and lost 24-23. Then you have the Seattle Seahawks, who started off the season 3-0, and have now lost two straight. 2 weeks ago to the Lions. This week, a pretty shocking loss to the Giants. My pick for this game is going to be the 49ers. I just think they do have guys back healthy now. You know, Kittle has played well since he's come back. Debo should hopefully start to play well. He didn't, stat wise, look that great against the Cardinals, but Brandon Ayuk finally showed out. Jordan Mason continues to play well in Christian McCaffrey's absence. I think this team overall should be good enough to get the win. The Seahawks still are dealing with injuries themselves to the starters of their front seven of their defensive line, and their linebacking core, and their offensive line is didn't really look all that great against the Giants. I think this defensive line of the Niners, particularly Nick Bosa, should probably have a pretty good game against the Seahawks. So I do think the Niners get the win here. Next up, you have another Sunday morning London game. You have the Jacksonville Jaguars, who are 1-4, taking on the Chicago Bears, who are 3-2. The Jaguars finally getting their first victory of the season over the Colts this past weekend. And the Bears, who have now gotten, I believe, back-to-back victories. Caleb Williams is starting to look really good. Granted, they did beat the Carolina Panthers. So, that's not a real good gauge as to how good a team is, but they have looked good the past few weeks. My pick for this game is going to be Jacksonville. First off, main reason I'm picking the Jaguars is because they are in London. The Jaguars go to London every single year. It feels like they win every year in London. It just feels like London has kind of been a second home stadium for the Jaguars. But also, their offense actually started to look really good against the Colts. Their defense has some questions. They gave up over 300 yards passing. But their offense, Trevor Lawrence looked really good. Tank Bigsby, who had been their backup running back, their second-year running back, also looked really good. Their young receiver, Brian Thomas, continues to look good in his rookie season. So I do think the Jaguars are going to get the win here. Moving on to the regular Sunday afternoon games. First off, you have the Arizona Cardinals, who are 2-3, taking on the Green Bay Packers, who are 3-2. The Cardinals coming off of their comeback win over the 49ers. Green Bay Packers coming off a victory over the Rams, in which it was kind of a little closer than I think it should have been. Like, the Rams found a way to stay in the game, but the Packers ultimately found a way to win. My pick for this game is going to be the Packers. I can never trust what the Cardinals' defense is going to do from week to week. I think the Packers have a very good offense. Hopefully they can get Josh Jacobs going in the run game. That should really help them out. Jordan Love has looked good, except for some interceptions that he's thrown over the past 2 weeks. But Jaden Reed continues to look good. Their offense looks really good. Hopefully they can as long as they can get the run game going, I think they'll perform very well. And I think their defense is going to play good enough to beat the Cardinals. Xavier McKinney, their starting safety, who they brought in free agency this year, has got an interception in every single game. Maybe he can keep that going. But I think just as a whole, their defense is better than Arizona's, so they should be able to hold Arizona's offense a little bit, and the Packers should be able to perform well against the Cardinals' defense, and I think the Packers get the win here. Next up, you have the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, who are 3-2, taking on the New Orleans Saints, who are 2-3. The Buccaneers coming off of a Thursday night loss over the Falcons in overtime, in which they gave up 500 yards passing, but their offense looked very good. And the New Orleans Saints, coming off of a loss to the Chiefs, on the scoreboard, it looked a little closer than it actually felt. It was a 26-13 loss, but honestly, the Saints could have lost by significantly more. The Saints started the season off 2-0, looked dominant. It looked like their offense was the real deal, putting up over 40 points in the first 2 games. Since then, their offense has kind of been non-existent. My pick for this game is going to be Tampa Bay. I think they are a more complete team offensively and defensively. The Saints, their offense the past few weeks has not looked all that good. Also, their starting quarterback, Derek Carr, went out at the end of last game with an injury. It looked like an oblique injury. So if Derek Carr doesn't play, they've got Jake Haener, who played okay for the short amount of time he got to play. But offensively, I don't know. Even with Derek Carr, I don't know if I can trust their offense, because their play calling just seemed really weird. They kept trying to throw the ball deep for really no reason, and it kept backfiring. They get no yards. Derek Carr threw an interception on his first deep pass of the game. So I do think that because Tampa Bay just looked like the more well-rounded team, I think the Buccaneers get the win here over the Saints. Next up, you have the Cleveland Browns, who are 1-4, taking on the Philadelphia Eagles, who are 2-2. The Cleveland Browns, coming off of a blowout loss to the Washington Commanders, which they have not looked good. And their offense will start to show flashes, and then it seems like Deshaun Watson forgets how to play football. Deshaun Watson does not look like a good quarterback anymore. I know people keep thinking and hoping that he's gonna, figure it out and be the Deshaun Watson he was back in Houston, back around 2019. But I think that ship has sailed, and Deshaun Watson just does not look like an NFL quarterback anymore. Their defense also doesn't look as good as it did last season. Their defense was the top defense last year. Now they're giving up like 40 points to the Washington Commanders, who do have a very good offense. But I really thought that we would see more out of Cleveland's defense this season. In Philadelphia, they're coming off a bye week, but going into the bye week, they still look okay, even with injuries. Hopefully, they'll get their two starting receivers, and AJ Brown and Devontae Smith, coming back from injury in this game. Hopefully Saquon will continue to look good. I think especially a healthy Eagles team should get the win, so I am going to pick the Eagles in this game. I just think they look like an actual competent football team as opposed to the Cleveland Browns. So I think the Eagles will get the win here. Next up, you have the Washington Commanders, who are 4-1, taking on the Baltimore Ravens, who are 3-2. The Commanders coming off of a blowout victory over Cleveland. The Baltimore Ravens coming off of a shootout overtime victory over the Cincinnati Bengals, which I believe they put up 41 points, 41-31. Neither defense for the Ravens or the Bengals really wanted to show up in that game. And you have the Commanders, whose offenses look very impressive this season. Jaden Daniels right now looks like the front runner for Offensive Rookie of the Year, and there've been maybe some talks of, could he be the first rookie since Jim Brown to win MVP? I don't know if he's there yet, but if he continues to play well, maybe the Baltimore Ravens. I am gonna pick the Ravens in this game. Both these teams have very high-scoring offenses. I think the Ravens need to get back to the run game. If the Ravens can run the ball with Derrick Henry as efficiently in this game as they did against the Buffalo Bills, especially against the Commanders' defense, which has not been the best run defense on the season, I think the Ravens should be able to run the ball down the throat of the Commanders, not give Jayden Daniels a whole lot of time with the ball, make him play from behind with a shorter amount of time with the ball. And I do think the Baltimore Ravens can get the victory here as long as, kind of Derrick Henry is carrying their team. Next up, you have the Houston Texans, who are 4-1, taking on the New England Patriots, who are 1-4. The Texans coming off of a victory over the Bills, which both teams look good at times. Towards the end of the game, it looked like neither team wanted to win that game. But ultimately, the Texans wound up winning it with a 59-yard field goal as time expired. Then you have the New England Patriots, who are coming off a loss to the Miami Dolphins, who I thought that was kind of the Patriots' best chance to get a win for a while. And they did wind up losing. The Patriots could possibly start Drake May this week at quarterback instead of Jacoby Brissett. I don't know if Drake May back there will do any better because this offensive line is just in shambles. They lost, so their starting center got put on injured reserve last week. Their starting rookie left tackle got put on injured reserve last week. They've shuffled around their offensive line so much. They still don't have a complete number one wide receiver. It does help they got Kendrick Bourne back from injury, but he's still trying to work his way back in. Jalen Polk, their rookie wide receiver, looks to possibly be the guy that could take that number one role, but he hasn't really done it yet. Their defense continues to look good, which is their real saving grace. But I don't think that their defense looking good is going to be enough against the Texans. I am going to pick the Texans to win this game. Offensively, the Texans have too much going for them. They have C.J. Stroud as a very good quarterback. Nico Collins suffered, I believe, a hamstring injury against the Bills. But hopefully it's nothing serious and he's able to go. Even if he's not, they still got Stephon Diggs, who's very good. He was their leading receiver on Sunday. They have Tank Dell, who's still a very good wide receiver. Hopefully Joe Mixon can finally be back from his ankle injury. That still hasn't happened yet. But even without him, Cam Akers has played very well. Their offense is still playing very well. Their defense has been playing well. Their defensive line is very good with Danielle Hunter and God, I'm blanking on his name. They're rookie they literally drafted in the first round last year. But those two have looked very good in the pass rush. So I do think that the Texans are going to be able to get after whoever the Patriots have back at quarterback. And they're going to be able to play very well on offense against this defense. And I think the Texans get the win here. Next up, you have the Indianapolis Colts, who are 2-3. Taking on the Tennessee Titans, who are 1-3. The Colts coming off of a loss to the Jaguars, in which they give the Jaguars their first victory of the season. In Jacksonville, Indianapolis has, for some reason, for the past 10 years or so, had a lot of issues playing in Jacksonville. And Tennessee Titans coming off of a bye week. Before that, they got their first win of the season over the Miami Dolphins. My pick for this game is going to be the Colts. Still not totally sure if Anthony Richardson is going to play in this game, but Joe Flacco played very well in his absence. Hopefully Jonathan Taylor can play in this game. He didn't play against Jacksonville. That'd be a big boost to their offense, especially in the run game. But really help out whoever is back there at quarterback. For Tennessee, don't know if Will Levis is going to play for them. He injured his shoulder against Miami 2 weeks ago. I can tell you, I definitely like the Colts' chances way better if Will Levis does play. Will Levis just keeps finding ways to kind of turn the ball over or make mistakes that could ultimately cost his team the game. I think if Tennessee can, kind of have a chance if they can get the run game going, but I do think that the Colts ultimately would be able to get the win here. Next up, you have the Los Angeles Chargers, who are 2-2, taking on the Denver Broncos, who are 3-2. The Chargers, coming off a bye week before that, they lost to the Kansas City Chiefs. The Denver Broncos have now won back-to-back games over the Jets and then this past week over the Raiders. I think this game will be a very defensive battle. Both these teams have very good defenses. I am going to pick the Broncos in this game because when the Chargers, so the last really good defense, so the Chargers, the past 2 games that they've lost have played against very good defenses in the Steelers and the Chiefs, and they've only put up like 10 points each, 10 points against each of those teams. I think if Denver can play the style of defense they have been playing, then they should be able to hold this to a very low-scoring game. I think their offense with Bo Nix will do just enough to get the win. It might be a 13-10 win, a 17-10 win, a 17-13 win, a very low-scoring affair. But I do think that defense is going to be able to slow down this Chargers run game, which has kind of been what they want, which the Chargers want to be able to run the ball. They don't really have an established number 1 wide receiver. So I think if the Broncos can slow down that run game, they're going to get the victory. Next up, you have the Pittsburgh Steelers, who are 3-2, taking on the Las Vegas Raiders, who are 2-3. The Steelers, another team that started 3-0 but have lost their past 2 games. They're coming off of a loss over the Dallas Cowboys on Sunday Night Football. You have the Vegas Raiders, who are coming off a loss to the Denver Broncos. My pick for this game is going to be the Steelers. I really trust their defense here. I don't really trust their defense. I like what Justin Fields has done on offense. They were very close to beating the Cowboys. They took the lead late in the 4th quarter, had them to a 4th and goal. Cowboys' last-ditch effort wound up getting a passing touchdown, and the Steelers just didn't have enough time to do anything after that. But I do like what they're doing, especially defensively, and Justin Fields has been playing well. The Raiders, they have a lot of question marks on offense. They flip-flop quarterbacks again this week with Gardner Minshew starting off the game. He started off very well and then started to struggle. And Aiden O'Connell going into the game and not being able to perform well enough to get them the win. Their run game has a lot of questions. Zamir White didn't even play this past week, and he was supposed to be their guy at running back with Josh Jacobs leaving in free agency. Their defense continues to play well. I think Max Crosby will still play well in this game against the Steelers. But I think the Steelers, especially that defense with T.J. Watt and Alex Highsmith and Joey Porter Jr. and Micah Fitzpatrick, they have too much talent. They're going to be able to play too well. The Raiders aren't talented enough, I believe, on offense to kind of overcome this defense. So I do think the Steelers get the win here. Next up, you have the Atlanta Falcons, who are 3-2, taking on the Carolina Panthers, who are 1-4. The Atlanta Falcons coming off of a big overtime victory over the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, in which their quarterback, Kirk Cousins, threw for over 500 yards, and including the game-winning touchdown pass in overtime. The Carolina Panthers coming off of yet another loss this week to the Bears. I think it was 36-10. So whatever hope the Panthers had of what their team could look like after they beat the Raiders a few weeks ago. I think that is gone. My pick for this game is going to be the Falcons. I think just offensively, I don't really see how the Panthers stop them. I think their offense is going to perform very well. And defensively, although they don't have a whole lot of a pass rush, I do think that the Falcons can still do enough against this Carolina Panthers offense, which has not looked good since they played the Raiders. I think the Falcons defense can do just enough. I think their offense is too good. I think the Falcons get the win here over Carolina. Next up, you have the Detroit Lions, who are 3-1, taking on the Dallas Cowboys, who are 3-2. The Lions are coming off of a bye week, and before that, they got a shootout victory over the Seattle Seahawks on Monday Night Football, which gave the Seahawks their first loss of the season. And Dallas Cowboys coming off of that very close victory over the Pittsburgh Steelers on Sunday Night Football. My pick for this game is going to be the Detroit Lions. I don't know. I don't trust what you get with the Cowboys. They looked very inconsistent against the Steelers. CeeDee Lamb didn't really get going in that. CeeDee Lamb didn't really get going in that game. Their run game is still not really there. Their defense performed well. They're still don't know if Micah Parsons is going to play. Don't know if Marcus Lawrence is going to play. They're missing some pieces on defense they might not have for this Lions game. But even if they have those pieces, I still think the Lions offense, especially their offensive line, which is one of the top in the NFL, can protect Jared Goff. I think they're going to be able to run the ball very well against this Cowboys defense. I think either Jameson Williams or Amon-Ra St. Brown is going to have a very good game against the secondary. I think the Lions defense, especially they have one of the top run defenses in the league. I think they're going to be able to really slow down the Cowboys' run offense, which has been pretty non-existent most of the season anyway. But I do think the Lions get the victory here. Next up for Sunday Night Football, you have the Cincinnati Bengals, who are 1-4, taking on the New York Giants, who are 2-3. The Bengals coming off of a shootout loss to the Baltimore Ravens, in which in overtime they had a chance to win the game. There was a very bad hold, and the kicker wasn't able to get his rhythm. There's a very bad hold on the snap for what would have been the game-winning field goal. The kicker winds up missing it. The Bengals wind up losing. The Giants coming off of a victory over the Seattle Seahawks, which without Malik Nabers, their number one rookie wide receiver, their offense had show flashes of playing well. Tyrone Tracy played very well. It did have some fumble issues. Daniel Jones continues to look okay. He's kind of middle of the row as a quarterback, which was good enough to get the win. My pick for this game is going to be the Bengals. This Bengals offense is just too good, and hopefully their defense can play better against the Giants than they did against the Ravens, and better than they did against the Commanders a few weeks ago. I think mainly due to the Bengals offense and the fact that the Giants offense has not shown an ability to score 40 points in a game. The Bengals offense, or to score, high 30s for points in a game, and the Bengals offense has. I do think the Bengals should be able to get the win here. It might be a shootout again. I don't know what that defense is going to look like, but I think the Bengals get out here with a win. Finally, on Monday Night Football game, you have the Buffalo Bills, who are 3-2, taking on the New York Jets, who are 2-3. The Bills, another team that started off 3-0 and has lost 2 games in a row. Lost to the Ravens 2 weeks ago and lost to the Texans this week. And you have the New York Jets, who are also coming off 2 losses in a row. 2 weeks ago in a very sloppy, messy game to the Broncos. This past week to the Minnesota Vikings. My pick for this game is going to be the Bills. the Jets, defensively, to start the game against the Vikings, they did not look good. Their run defense has just not played all that good this season. The pass defense is okay. Their run defense isn't really there. Not very confident in their ability to get after the quarterback. I think if the Bills can really run the ball with James Cook and get into a rhythm running the football, they have a very good chance to win this game. I think defensively, they should do very well in getting after Aaron Rodgers, who honestly doesn't look all that healthy. He's be dealing with like an ankle or a knee or some sort of left leg injury that really showed late in the game against the Vikings. That he looked like there were times he wasn't able to put all of his weight on his left leg. So I do think that if the Bills are able to run the ball and I think their defense is going to be able to play well against the Jets, I do think the Bills get the win here. Those are my picks for this week of NFL football. Let me know in the comments who you guys think is going to win. Based on my track record so far, you probably do better than me with your picks. Don't forget to like and subscribe. Until next time, see ya.